Hello everyone, this is Shaquille from Godzone 3D, and today I'm going to show you guys how I use a few programs including Blender to create a basic hairstyle. Now if you guys have any questions, definitely leave a comment. That comment has to be detailed though, so if you leave a comment that's a bit vague, I probably won't be able to help you, but if you leave a detailed comment, I will try my best to help you. If it requires me to make another video, I'll definitely do that as well. And if this video did help you at all, please think about leaving a like and subscribe if you want to. I would greatly appreciate it. Now, believe it or not, I don't actually start inside Blender. I start usually with Pinterest. Now, many of you probably know where I'm going with this, but for the people who are confused, I use Pinterest for references, and references are honestly the backbone of any project you do, no matter what kind of project it is, whether it's hair, skin, eyes, it doesn't matter. Even animation doesn't matter. You should always use references. Now, if I go to Pinterest, I'll, for example, type in hair bob, and then all kinds of, the heck is that? Ignore that. All kinds of interesting hair styles will pop up, and then so, for example, if I like this one, anyway, if I look at one and I like it, oh, that's why they made me do that. Okay, now that makes sense. Why the heck is it this much money? What in the world? Anyway, if I like a hairstyle, I'll look into it, click on it, get the picture, download the picture. Anyway, if there's a hairstyle that I like, you can just right click it, save it. It'll show up in your downloads folder usually, or up here, and then you can take it. And what I like to do is I like to go one step further. There's a free program called PureRef that I have here. That's again, it's completely free, and if I'm not mistaken, I think you can drag and drop it on there. Yeah, you can. Holy. But yeah, you can just take some photos that you like from Pinterest, drag it and drop it into PureRef, and you already got some interesting looking some cool references and whatnot. Don't mind me, chat. I'm just gonna look at this for a little bit. No, I'm just kidding. You can just grab a few references that are interesting, and then you already got like something for your project, and it's super quick. Look how quick that was. Obviously I was messing around a little bit, but you can already see you have some interesting ideas for a character's groom. And obviously, if you don't like these references that you got, you can always just go back. Let's say, for example, you want something more stylized. You can just grab one. I like this one. This very nice hair color. You can just take that one and put that one on there. I think this was Final Fantasy. Yeah, it is. I'm a big fan of Final Fantasy, so anytime I see Final Fantasy on here, I typically will just grab it, even if it's not necessarily what I want for my project. I'll just take it because I feel like Final Fantasy does a great job. So I just nab a few of them. I don't think this isn't Final Fantasy. I think that's called Fate Stay Night. I never watched it, but I heard good things about it. And then you just keep going from there. Keep going from there. Just keep getting some ideas, some references. You don't even have to put too much thought into it. If it looks nice, just nab it. You know, obviously you're not nabbing it to copy one for one, but all of these hairstyles, you can put them. What essentially what an artist will do, a concept artist will do, is they'll just grab a few hairstyles, and they will essentially what all of these will become is an amalgamation of all of your ideas for what you see when you see these hairstyles. You can put, like, for example, let's say I like the structure of this one. You see how it's just boom, 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 boom. That's kind of that's simple yet effective. And then let's say I like the hair color or the hair sheen and color of this one. So I make it this color, but this structure. And then let's say I also like the I don't know what this is called, cowlick. Let's say I like the cowlick from this right here. And then let's say I like the fact that this in this woman's hair, it goes upward a little bit, like it kind of curves upward. I can take ideas from all of these hair grooms, and I can do an amalgamation of all of these ideas. You know, the length of this one, for example, like the fact that it's shoulder length. You can put them all together, and that's kind of how a concept artist will create ideas for their hair cards. So this is what I plan to do. So after I'm done, I'll see you guys over in Blender. Now, the last thing that I use before I open up Blender is a program called Fibershop. Now, I want to make things clear right off the gate. Fibershop is a paid program, and in my opinion, it costs quite a bit of money. Now, you don't have to pay for this. You don't have to. You can do everything that I'm going to show you in Fibershop. You can do using other programs. I'm going to go ahead and create a texture based on the references that I've gotten. And I think I have a reference in mind that I want to use the texture from. If you remember, I'm going to most likely use that Final Fantasy. Let me bring it up right now. Alright, so as you can see, these were, if you remember, these were the references that I gathered before from Pinterest. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go with this color here. I'm gonna go with this style, this texture. Essentially, what all I want right now to focus on is like the texture mostly. So here's where I'm going to end off adding modifiers to this. I could have added, like, for example, curls here and there, but I don't need to do all of that. If this character were, for example, African American or POC, whatever you want to call it, I could have given them, you know, Afro textured hair. But to be honest, I wouldn't use Fibershop for that. I would use Maya. I would use XGen in Maya for Afro textured hair, which I could show you guys how to do that as well. That could be a video topic for another time. If you guys really want that, I would definitely make a video on Afro textured hair. But for now, I'm just going to use Fibershop to turn this brunette hair color blonde. So let me just go ahead and do just that. Alright, now that it's exported, let's go ahead and finally go into Blender. The moment you guys have probably been waiting for, at least the Blender users have been waiting for this. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? So now that I'm in here in Blender, I will get right to it. I will be using Behemox, which I've made a video on how to use that before on my channel. So if you have questions about this add-on, go ahead and watch that video. And if you see during this presentation, the scroll, because my mouse wheel is a bit wonky, so if you see it jitter a bit like that, that's the reason. I need a new mouse, but the show must go on, so I will use what I have for the time being, just to show you guys how I make hair cards. So yeah, with that being said, let me get right to it. Like I said before, I went into detail about Behemox before in another video, so I'm not going to go into full detail. But there are a few things that I should go over just to make things more clear. I don't want to leave you guys in the dark. So, obviously I grab the scalp, go into the add-on. All these steps you can just mimic, but I have my vertex group, my vertex string here. I changed the Behemox hairstyle to the vertex that I have, and then I choose like the length. And what I'm doing right here is I'm planning to do the back of the head first. I'm going to cover the back of the head. I'm not going to go into any sort of detail. I am not going to make this at all complex. It's just to cover the back of the head. And I'm also going to say this now. I don't plan on using mirroring, not because mirroring is bad or anything like that, but because from what I can tell from my testing, Behemox does not have a good mirroring system. I don't know if they plan to change that. If they have changed it by now, then good. But from what I could tell when I was testing it, it did not have a good mirroring system. So what I'm doing here is I just changed it to -2, the curl offset. Like I mentioned in the previous video, if you do that, you get more leeway. So I'm just using that to give me more of a chance to change how much curl I can do with this. Like, you know, shape it to how I want it. The hair card. And then I'm not gonna use, okay, right here, this will probably mess up a lot of people. I'm not gonna use the comb to push this down. If you do that, you know what, let me just show you. Why yap when I can just show you? Let me increase the brush size and try to comb this down. If you do that, it just looks like a mess. And this is about as good as you can get it. But as soon as you try to do it more, like against the scalp, like you want it, it just twists, and you don't want that. So instead of doing that, what I do instead with these first initial hair strands is I go up here into object mode. I leave scope mode. I go into object mode. I choose the hair card, and then like I mentioned before about my mouse wheel, as you can see, it's not doing too well. But I choose the hair card, and then I right click. I go to set origin, and I set it to geometry. And then once I do that, I can curve it, and then have it pushed to the scalp. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. There's no issues that come up later. Um, this is how. Now, of course, you have to make it look right, and there are better ways to make it look right, like more mathematically sound ways to make it look right. Like if you go into uh, a better mode like this one, or if you change the view from orthogonal to like back view, you could do that. I'm lazy, so I'm not going to. I'm just gonna try to make it look good by eye. Again, this video is not me trying to make something spectacular. I'm not trying to make anything crazy or anything like I can't speak. I'm not trying to make anything incredible. I'm just trying to showcase everything that I use in tandem with each other to give you guys an idea of a methodology to create a hair groom. And this is for people who are stuck. Them are the people that I want to watch this video. The people who are unsure if they're even doing anything right. Those people. I want to show them my method just because so they can have something. You know what I mean? But anyway, after shaping it using object mode, I then go into edit mode. I grab each vertex, and unlike before when you were in scope mode trying to shape it, if you do it this way, it will not twist and like look crazy. It'll actually bend the way you want it to bend and scope the way you want it to scope. So I recommend doing it this way. Again, you create the hair card using Behemox initially, and then you go out of scope mode and you go into object mode, and you push it. You basically you move it down manually. You do not use any. You don't use the software to move it to the scalp. You do it manually. Okay. And then once you have it against the scalp, well, you can choose whether to curve it like that, offset like that. And then you can go back to object mode and pull it up a little bit. Go back to ease it. You just ease it little by little, and you just move it little by little. And for me, this is my first hair card. You know what I mean? This is good to me because I want it to be around here. I want it to cover the back, and I don't want it to go down too far. I want it to look a certain way, and if it goes down to like around here or here, that's also fine. But I want it to cover the back of the head, in such a way that this is not going to be seen at the end result. Okay, this is literally because sometimes when you create these hair cards, what'll happen is you can kind of look into the hair, and I'm going to show this later on maybe, but I'm sure many of you have seen this, but sometimes when you look into the hair, you can see the scalp, and you don't want that to happen, especially at the back of the head. That's the back of the head. That's when it happens the most. So that's why I do this. And then afterward, you go back to object mode, and instead of going to Behemox, instead of doing it this way, I went into detail in the previous Behemox video. Instead of grabbing the scalp and creating a new hair, we're not gonna do that. Do not do that. That's a waste of time. And also do not go to scope mode and create a new hair or add a new hair like that. Do not do that. That's a bad thing to do because, like I showed in the previous video, if you add it with this, it'll be connected to these over here. These, and you don't want that to happen because if you edit one, it'll edit both. I'm not even gonna show that because again, you can go into the other video. It's annoying. But instead, like I showed before, you grab the hair card, you right click, and you duplicate. And then what's cool about Behemox, And I don't know if it's Behemox or Blender. I'm not sure which one does this, but you can easily just like edit it this way and shape it so that it's right next to the previous one, and you know, make it look nice. Not well, it's not gonna look amazing because again, these aren't for show. These are not what's gonna be seen by the audience. These are just literally to cover the head. So I don't care if these look ugly or not. All I want is for these to do their duty basically, which is to cover the back of the head. And for me, honestly, if I'm being honest, when I do these without Behemox, when I do this sort of thing without Behemox, it's really difficult to do this. Not because this is a difficult process per se, but because I'm not the type of person where I can, you know, really I think it's just laziness. Because I'm pretty sure people can easily do this if, you know, using the native system and using mirroring and all that and using different views. If you learn all that, that's good. But for me, I'm just really lazy. I prefer just doing it this way where I can just go to object mode, right click, duplicate, and now I got another, you know, hair card that's gonna easily be used. Wait, oh yeah, okay, I am okay. That I could easily just put against the scalp. You know what I mean? Do you know what I am saying? That's Butters from South Park mimicking him. Him mimicking a black person. Anyway, that's. I'm sorry. That's a huge tangent. Anyway, but yeah, I just shape it using these systems. You know me. You know what I'm saying? Let me stop saying that. I'm sorry. You know what's funny? And this I'm gonna stop talking in a second, and I'm gonna speed up time and do all the fancy editing, whatever. But before I say that, I just oh my goodness, I'm sorry. This is my scroll wheel going crazy. I need a new mouse. This is planned obsolescence for you. But anyway, the funny thing about making these videos and knowing that people are gonna watch this is that you become acutely aware of your line of speak your speech patterns. And so when I'm talking to my family or people that I know, if I say something like, you know what I'm saying, I think nothing of it. But if I'm presenting this and I'm supposed to be like, you know, teaching people, it's kind of frustrating because like, you know, you're not supposed to talk like that if you want people to take you seriously, you know what I mean? But you know, that's just a tangent. I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm gonna go silent right now, and I'm gonna go ahead and speed this up until I at least until I get this back part done, and I'll start talking again. So yeah, let's go ahead. All right, so yeah, I could go and make hair car. Well, I'm actually tempted to do that to make hair cards that cover this part as well. Um, I might actually end up doing that. I'm not sure yet, but this right here is what I want. You know, at least this covering the back part is very critical in what I create. Now, some people don't do this. For some people, it depends. But usually, whenever I create a hair groom, I'll usually always have this back part. And then the next part that I usually do, again, I might create one, I'm not sure yet. But the next thing I do, which actually I do not recommend that you copy, is I usually create the bangs second. Now, uh, this is a do as I, well, yeah, do as I say, not as I do sort of moment, because if two things, if you watch other videos, they usually do not do the bang second, and the second thing I would say is that's for good reason, because how you want to approach hair grooms is you want to layer them layer by layer. This would be the first layer, and then the second layer will be like the sides, and then the top, and then the bangs. Like second to last, and then the last part would be like the flower. Well, no, the flyaways wouldn't be the last part. That would be like the very last thing. Which the next part after the bangs will be like, secondary layer, secondary hair cards. It's hard to explain without showing you guys. Um, Again, I'm too lazy to get like a diagram. I apologize. This is very unprofessional, but just this is a do as I say, not as I do moment, because really you're not supposed to. You're supposed to save the bangs for last. The reason why I do the bangs second is because for me the bangs is the most interesting part of the hair, and if I do all of these layers, layer after layer, after part after part, and then I get to the one of the last parts, which is the bangs, and they don't look good to me, I'm not gonna have the the wherewithal to keep going. And that's just me. I can, if I do the first part, which is the back part, and then I come and do the bangs, and then the bangs look cool, then I have the urge to keep going and pull through, and no matter how long it takes, I'm gonna keep going because these bangs look cool and look popping. So I need to get this groom done. That's my thought process. So I, I don't recommend you do that. You know, don't get into that habit. It's not a good habit. Do as the other professionals tell you. So again, I'm gonna go ahead and shut up at this point, and yeah, let's get to it. So real quick, I know it's something you are probably gonna be thinking. Shaquille, these hair cards are way too thick. Pause. Um, I'm just kidding. But yeah, these hair cards are really wide. Are you sure the hair cards should be this wide? Should you make them thinner, smaller, and then have multiple ones? Um, don't worry. These are just the bottom row of the hair cards. Okay, and even with the bangs, even though you're supposed to save the bangs for last, technically I kind of am, because these are not the bangs. These are not the last versions of well, how should I put this? These are just the bottom parts of the bangs. I'm gonna put smaller, thinner bangs on top. Okay, so don't worry. There, these are just like this is like the shell of the hair. Okay, I'm gonna have more hair. What I want right now is for the hair to have structure, and then on top of that structure, I'm gonna make whoops. On top of that structure, I'm gonna make more structure. So, if you're wondering why I'm using these really thick hair cards, that's why. It's because I don't plan to just have these. I'm gonna have more on top, and I'm gonna have hair cards that are thinner, and really those thin hair cards are to just give me leeway, remove some cracks, like for example this area right here that I consider to be kind of ugly. If I left alone, I'm gonna have a thin hair card going that way. You know, keep watching. It's gonna be all right. I don't know if it's gonna look good or not, but you'll get the idea. And then on top of that, some people are probably wondering why I lifted these up. That's because I want to have hair cards going this way, and I want to put these on top. I want it to be. Do I want to do that actually? Because I didn't do that for these two. So, you know what? I might actually. Well, no, you know what? I might do the opposite. Yeah, whatever. You know, this is fine. You know, you're supposed to make these sorts of decisions. You know, you're supposed to just change your mind. Change your mind is fine, unless you know for a fact you're supposed to do something a certain way. Like for example, there's probably a 3D artist that's watching this and like, bro, you're supposed to have these bangs on top of these side hair cards. What are you doing? In that situation, he or she would probably be right. And me experimenting like this, I'm gonna find out as soon as this is done, that lesson. But for now, I'm gonna do it this way because this is what I did on this side, so I want it to be the same as this side. But again, later on when this is done, if it turns out that this was a bad idea, you know, the next time I make this a groom, then I learned my lesson. You know, it's just a learning experience, so that's fine. So anyway, let me continue on with this, and yeah, let's keep going. One of the cool things about 3D modeling is that it's not really a problem solving situation. So as you can see, I'm still trying to figure out a way to have this hair card be in the middle of this one and this one, while not clipping either of them, and while still having this one match with this hair card right here, lengthwise, or I should say, like, you know, against its width. And many of you watching, even people who feel as though they're bad at this sort of thing or need more advice and all that, many of you have probably already thought to yourselves of a solution to my issue. You're probably screaming in your head right now, hey, just do this and you can fix it. And I think that's one of the cool things about 3D, is that there are infinite solutions to, oh my goodness, my mouse meal. There are infinite solutions to these issues. And even if you figure that you're not good at something at 3D, you could probably solve something that could take, and I'm not saying that I'm a veteran or anything of the sort, but you could solve something that somebody who is a veteran is taking them a while to figure out, you know? So that's one of the reasons why I say don't be discouraged, because everybody has something that, everybody has their own mind. Everybody can solve a different situation in a unique way. And 3D is no different. So you have something that you can bring to the table, I feel. You just need to keep practicing, keep getting better. Actually, let me go back to this and grab all of these, because that's what's causing it not to. That's what's causing the comb not to interact with every single part of it. But it has been some time since I worked on this part before. In that time, I have gotten a new mouse, so as you can see, I can go back and forth, and I shouldn't have any issues with that going forward. So that's good. Hopefully it wasn't jarring when I started this part. Hopefully I tried to make it seamless, so hopefully you guys didn't notice. But yeah, I'm gonna keep going, keep moving these. I'm gonna move these along the what I want is to have it along the cheeks. So Okay, so once you have what you would consider to be a working hair groom, although I'm thinking that I want something up here as well. You know, maybe something going. Yeah, that might have been a premature statement. Um, Keep in mind, like I was working with. You know what? I could do something here too. I was working with some, what is it called? I was working with some ideas and like references before. I still am, but I kind of winged it midway through. So, yeah, maybe not. Let me just leave it. Um, so yeah, actually, you know what kind of want to do this and then over like a crazy amount. Yeah, you know, I am gonna do that. Let's grab this one, duplicate, move it a little bit, make sure that it's not too off. And what I want to do is grab you, put up, move you backwards. How about bear with me, guys. I'm almost done. Trust me. Do that a little bit. Oops. And then do that, do that, do that. Put it down a little bit. Pull it forward a bit. That's good. And then pull you up a little bit. And then grab you guys and then go to sculpt. Yeah, that, well, no. Well, would that? No, okay, I can't. Yeah, I'm thinking no. And then pull you up like to a high degree, just like make you crazy. And then that. Yeah, I could fix that later. Just like you know, like just like a crazy amount, like a ridiculous, like I don't know. Yeah, yeah. Uh, yeah, that's fine. And then I also want to introduce something that I haven't spoken about. Maybe I have. It's this move. Yeah, I think I have actually. Let me just move it out a bit because I don't want it to be like too angular. And just grab the comb and then like yeah. No. Now, once you have something that you are happy with, the first thing you should do is, if you haven't done so already, save. Okay, and you want to save a new a new save state. Whatever you were doing before, just create a brand new file for it, okay? And the next part is, well, first, if you're using Behemox, you want to grab all the hair. Grab all the hair, make sure they're all selected. What is this? You know what, here, let me, okay. Yeah, grab all the hair, and then you want to convert it to mesh. So do that, and you should be, they should all be hair meshes at this point. Now, here, in my opinion, is where the fun begins. Now, this, I do like it, and this is fun. But this next part is my favorite part of hair cards. And I actually learned this technique from another YouTuber. Hopefully, I remember to put her channel in the description. But essentially, what I'm going to be doing is splitting the hair cards. So how do you split the hair cards? Well, it's very simple. Essentially what you do is you grab the hair card that you want to split. You want to change it from object mode to edit mode. Okay? The next thing you want to do is you want to choose the correct edit type. So there's 3 types. There's the face mode, where if you click it, you grab a face. There's the line mode, where you click it, grab a line. And then there's a vertex mode, where you click it and you grab a vertex point. Now, it's up to you whether you want to use the vertex point or the line mode. I believe in the original video, the person that I learned this from used the lines. So I'm going to do that right now. But it really doesn't, whether you use lines or vertex points, it's fine either way. What you want to do is you want to grab a few points, not all of them, but it depends on what kind of split you want. So let's say I want a split that goes as far as here. All you do is you grab these lines and you want to press the V key, okay? So I want to press V, and once you do, it's split it already. You can't see it until I move my mouse. Now, if you see I move my mouse, you can see that there's a split there. Now, what I like to do is I like to split it and move it just a tiny bit, okay? And then I do left mouse button, okay? Now, the next thing you want to do is you want to move the split away from the main body of the hair, okay? So for me, how I do that, I do not use this selection here, okay? Because if I do this selection, it's gonna move the body of the hair, and I don't really want to move the body. I want to move the split itself. So how I do that, I go to the vertex points mode. I grab the very tippity top of the points of the split off hair chunk, or whatever you want to call it, the split. And then the next thing you want to press is the G key, okay? And once you do that, you enter the grab mode in the scope section, but you'll still be in edit mode. Cool, which is cool. So I'm gonna press G, and once you do, you see this cursor come up, this really round cursor. Now the cool thing about Blender is if you scroll the mouse button, it goes small, and if you scroll it the other way, it goes big. And depending on how you want to do this hair card, you may want it like this, which I don't recommend. But if you scroll it big, it suddenly looks like that. You feel me? And so if you If you, let's grab G again and move it down, suddenly you see this sort of effect. And when I first learned this, I learned this from a very short, a short on YouTube, a very short clip, a short. And man, I just knew once I saw that Blender was where it's at. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't know anything about Blender. I didn't know how to use Blender. I didn't know the Blender's controls. I was happy with Maya, but with Maya, the hair cards function, like doing hair cards. After I learned Behemox, there was no going back to Maya. Maya, I had to do planes, and I did not like it. So with Behemox, Behemox, Blender's native systems, all of that, I think when it comes to hair cards, Blender is where it's at, and you can do a whole lot of interesting stuff, you know, with this. And like I've been saying, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, guys, but like I said earlier, I'm sure some of you are watching this and you're like, I know how I can make those splits look even better than what he's doing. I urge you to foster that idea, that mindset, okay? If you yourself feel as though you can take this hair groom and you can split it in such a way that makes it look even better than this, by all means, foster that mindset. Please, because we all have something to bring to the table, okay? So, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and do a few more splits just to see what kind of look I can get. So, I'm actually gonna delete this because I don't want it to look like this per se. Another way you can split it, which is what I believe she did it in the author that I'm gonna put in the description. I believe she did this as well. What you can do is you can have the first part of the split not split, and the second one, and then going forward you can grab those. I want to say she did do this in her video, but I'm not 100% sure. I started doing this because there is some certain looks that I wanted to achieve, and you can achieve it by doing this. So again, you want to press V, split it, move it a tiny bit, okay? Now in this situation, you go to grab, you can grab one from this side, okay? And then you can go G, make sure it's the grab tool. You're gonna scroll it forward and backwards just to make sure you have it, and then move it like that. And what you'll end up with is like a sort of crescent look. And I know some of you know exactly what look I'm trying to achieve by doing this crescent split. If you do it this way, there are certain looks you can achieve where the hair looks quote unquote cuter. I guess you can say. If let's say they had a ponytail and you did this crescent split, it could look a lot cuter. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and split this up. If you have any questions about how to do this, definitely leave a comment in the comment section. But yeah, that's how you split the hair card. I should point out that when I said earlier that you wouldn't want the G grab to be too small, that was only in that particular instance. There are certain cases like this one where I do want it to be small, and that's to get the right curvature. So don't be afraid to experiment with different sizes, different you know, going back and forth between the vertex and the line tool, you know, this is all one big playground, really. So experiment, have fun, do what you got to do to make it look right to you. Another thing I want to mention is actually it's kind of the opposite of what I said earlier. Be careful of making the draw size for the grab tool too big, because if you do, let me show you what happens. As you can see, for now, right now, I have the hair chunk moving this much. If you make it too big, then suddenly you're grabbing the entire hair card, and you really do not want to do that because you will displace it. You spend all this time making sure that it don't clip, that it's in the right that's in the right position, I should say. So just be careful. You can make it too big without even realizing it, and then you displace it and you don't even know. You don't even realize it's over there now. So just keep that in mind. Control Z, and I'm gonna go G, and I'm gonna quickly make it smaller before I move it and position it. Now, there is one thing that I want to do. Well, a couple things that I want to do that's going to seem crazy, but it's just an artistic something that I like to do. So it's going to look crazy, but it's just, I like to do it, so I'm going to do it. Actually, do I? Whatever. So that thing is that I'm going to do a split like I've been doing. So let me go to edit, and then take a tiny little man on this side, go all the way to where I don't want it to clip. So, well, it's fine, doesn't matter, keep going. And that's probably, yeah, cut off. And then I'm gonna split it. And then I'm gonna grab it. And this time, I'm not gonna go downward. I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna move it all the way, like that or something, like something ridiculous. And the reason why I do that is because when you do these hair card types, when you do these groom types, one of the things, like with hair cards, one of the things that you tend to miss out on is flyaways. And I don't know if you can easily create flyaways with hair cards. I haven't learned it yet, if you can. But this is my solution to flyaways for now. This is my not workaround, but kind of what I imagine a flyaway would look like if you had hair cards, and so that's why I do that. And then I'm not really fond of that clip. I'll see if that matters later. It shouldn't matter because these are usually very, very hard to spot. But afterward, I could just take the same hair card and just split it again like I've been doing. Split it normally this time. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so at this point, I think I'm done. I'm not trying to do it like so crazy that I spend so much time on it. Again, this is mostly just a showcase, so like I'm not trying to make anything in particular. So if you guys feel like it's not that amazing, it's not supposed to be that amazing. This video, again, is to just show what Behemoths can do, what Blender could do, what kind of tips and tricks that I know, and then I'm probably going to learn, later on, and I'll do another video. And then I'm going to use Maya soon again. I'm going to bring this into Maya for the UVs, and then Marmoset. So, and then obviously Fibershop as well. I used Fibershop earlier, so that's part of the process as well. So again, if you have any questions about this process, feel free to leave it in the comment section. So yeah. So now that everything is done, what you want to do is you want to take all of these, and we're going to export this. Now, I've noticed for some strange reason, Blender's export system is kind of weird. It's not as straightforward as Maya's. With Maya, you can just export selected. With Blender, even if you just click export selected, for some reason it still exports multiple objects. Like, it's most likely going to export this mesh as well. I don't know why it does that, but who am I? I'm just some dude. So I'm going to go ahead and come to File, Export. Should be good to go. So I've imported it, and as you can see, for some reason, like I said before, it does bring in the entire object. So to fix this, all you would do is go, if you have something like this happen, all you would do is go up here to, you go to mesh, then you go to separate. So it's hard to read for me. And then all you would do is just delete what you don't need. So for me, I don't need those two things. I'm not sure if I need, because there's like a scalp as well in here. I guess I'm gonna keep it, so whatever, it doesn't matter. So afterward, you would just grab everything and you go back to mesh, and this time you would combine. Okay, and then the last thing you would do, as you can see, there's a I believe it's called a 0 point, I forgot what it's called, like a node. It's called like a something node. I forgot exactly what it's called, but you don't want this node here. So to get rid of it, you'll go to edit. You don't delete the node itself, because a lot of times I don't think it's gonna cause issues here. Oh, it will. Okay, yeah. The node contains information for Maya, so like I don't know, it's something technical. There is a reason why it does this, but I forgot why. So you don't want to just delete it, because it could. In this case, it contains, I believe, the coordinate information and the color information, I believe, or it could just contain the color information. Either way, you don't want to just delete it. So instead, you want to grab the object, go up here to edit, delete by type, and you will delete the history, and that will get rid of the node and apply it to the object without causing any issues. Okay, and the next thing you want to do is just a quality of life thing. You want to press F, and that centers the workspace to look around and focus on the, I guess it's like the focus button. You can think F focus. It just centers it along to the hair, okay, or the hair group. Now that we have it like this, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna go ahead and save. Again, you won't be able to see the window pop up because I have to fix my OBS, but just take my word for it, I just saved it. Okay, the next thing you want to do is you actually want to come up here to workspace. Actually, you know what, before I do that, let me go ahead and do something that I should do first, which is I'm gonna right click, go down to material attributes. Now unfortunately, again, you won't be able to see it. I think you can see this pop up. Yeah, you did see on the right, it popped up here, so take my word for it. I right clicked, a bar popped up, and another a bar popped up, and I just clicked material attributes, and that is what popped this up. So you will be able to see this, thankfully. So all you would do is just apply some materials. In my case, I just want to apply, for now, the albedo. So I'm going to go up. I clicked on this checkerboard pattern by across from color. It pulled up a bar that has a bunch of options, and you would click file. Again, I do really apologize for you guys not being able to see that. I will fix it for next time, don't worry. And then you would click this folder button, and you will just navigate to where your albedo texture is. So in my case, I have it here, so I'm just gonna apply it. You won't be able to see it, but you can just come up here to this bar up here, and you will come where the texture is. For me, it's right here, and you will just click that. Oop. Let me see. So as you can see, the texture is applied here. So the next thing you want to do, well, it's up to you. You can either apply. You can either go through the trouble of going into the workspace up here. Actually, can you see this? No, you cannot, unfortunately. You can't see. Okay, when I click workspace, I have the option to change the settings of the workspace. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click UV editing, which is what pops up. So I went ahead and chose UV editing, and it changed the workspace to look like this. What I'm actually going to do before that, before I do anything here, so this is the next step. But before I want to do anything here, I'm going to do one small thing, which is I'm actually going to go ahead and into Photoshop and convert my transparency map so that it can work in Maya. So because I want to see what it looks like in here as well, the transparency, what it looks like in here as well. So yeah, let me go into Photoshop. I may or may not cover that, so let's see. Okay, so I went ahead and did what I had to do in Photoshop. It didn't take too long, and essentially all I did was convert the translucency map, or the alpha map I should say, from a PNG to a TIFF. So all you do is take the PNG file, if you use Fibershop for example, and you would just save it as a TIFF. That's all I did. So I felt like it wasn't that necessary to show that. So instead, I'm just gonna go ahead and I chose this, and I'm gonna go to transparency, sorry, and I'm gonna click on the folder button, and again, the folder popped up. So that's not what you can't see that, but I'm just describing what happened. And I'm gonna choose a transparency map. This time it's as a TIFF, and as you can see in Maya, it did show, or it did apply the map. Now here's what it's gonna look like if you just try to apply it, the alpha map, without converting it to a TIFF first. So let me just navigate to that. As you can see, it does not it doesn't apply it the same way. Maybe I'm doing something wrong myself, I'm not sure, but for me it only works if I convert it to a TIFF first in Maya specifically. Other programs don't have that happen. So I just change it over and it looks good. And then there is a second thing that I want to do before I go into the textures, which is I want to change the way the transparency works. So give me one moment while I do that. So yeah, let me go ahead and do that. It is, you go to renderer, and then I'm using viewpoint 2.0. I'm not using V-Ray or Arnold. I don't have V-Ray anymore. That was from when I used to use it. I think my license I don't remember. I don't know what happened to that, but I don't use that anymore. Instead, because I don't really do renders in Maya anymore, I use Marmoset. So let's go up here, 2.0 viewpoint, and all you would do is come over here and change the output setting to depth. I believe that's called depth peeling. So you would just switch it and click OK, and save it, or I'm sorry, set it, and then just click cancel, and it should just apply it. Now what does that do? It's just a way of another way of calculating the transparency map. That's all it is. So it looks better. Now of course it won't look that good right now because I haven't changed any of the UVs. So without further ado let's start doing that right now. So what you want to do is right click, and icon pops up, and when the icon pops up on the left hand side, you can click UV shell when you see it, and then it gives you the option. As you can see, this red, you can go ahead and start moving around the UVs, and just by looking at this, I'm thinking that I want to go ahead and I might change the texture later to be a bit lighter, because I did intend this to be blonde. Right now for me it looks a little bit brunette-ish, so I'm probably gonna change it later. But for now, the one thing I'm worried about is just getting these into the right coordinates. So this process can take a bit of time, but don't try to like go out of it and try to make it fast and try to just blow it over. This is part of the process, and this is the part where the magic happens, really. So you should take this part and just get used to it. Just do it, you know. So and then once that is complete, essentially, um, um, card by card, we're gonna decide where each card should go in, um, with each hair card in like the texture part. Now, this is sounding daunting, I know, for some of you. For others, you're most likely like get on with it, and I am. But don't let it sound daunting to you, because really, most of these hair cards should be right here, right in the same quadrant as that. I put the scalp, which I might delete, but because the thing is that with hair, especially like, okay, so remember when we first started working on this, okay, and I created these smaller hair cards to cover the back of the head. Remember my thought process going into that. My thought process was these will protect the character from somebody looking at, let's say they were looking at it from right here, this side. I do not want them to accidentally see somebody's scalp, okay? So really, that's my thought process for most, if not all of these hair cards, okay? Some hair cards by default will not have to worry about that. Like, for example, this one right here, really all of the secondary hair cards that I made, like the thinner ones, I'm not too worried about those. I'm most likely gonna decide something like here or here or here. The way I view it is the first three are for body. The first three of these textures are for thickness, especially the these two right here. They are the densest ones. Is this mirrored? No, it's not mirrored. Huh? Why is there? Well, that maybe that'll look okay, but the especially the first two, they are the thickest. So I want them to cover most. Oops! I want them to cover most of the head. I do, and then I'm gonna be on. This is a small tangent, but when you go from Maya to Maya to Blender, the controls are different. So sometimes I'm not able to properly control these as much as I would like, seamlessly. And I know what some of you are saying, well, you can change the Blender settings to industry standard. If you do that, some of the quick, like some of the hotkeys either change too much, too drastically, or they go away completely. So I don't use industry standard in Blender. Sometimes I do, but mostly I don't. I just force myself to learn the controls between the two. I have more experience in Maya, but if I use Blender too long, then Maya becomes trickier. So that's a small tangent. Let me just stop. Let me stop complaining. They're good. Let me stop complaining. But yeah, my goal is for most of these. So like for example, for this one, since this is on the very tippity top, I'm not gonna worry about having this one be the really dense. Technically, you could. Technically, if you want, you can have the hair cards. You can make two of these, and all of the hair cards fall within one of these two. You can do that, and there's a case for doing that as well. So I'm not gonna say well, the industry standard is not to do that. You should have like this much at least, if not more. You should have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You should have like a lot of these, because they each do different things depending on the thickness. But like for example, flyaways and whatnot. But I've seen cases where people can get away with having less, much less. So Especially if it's just an experimentation. If you're like experimenting with these, don't be afraid to just try less. It's not gonna kill. It's not gonna kill anything. So, but yeah, the goal is to cover the head, and for now, I'm just gonna go ahead and choose the part that I definitely want covered first. So that is definitely um, these. I kind of want to. Okay, that took way longer than it should have. I'm just, I'm rusty with Maya because I've been using Blender so much. But essentially, all I did was I hid the scalp away so that now all I can see is the Groom. I didn't delete the scalp; it's still here, so see. But for me, it's just getting in the way. So for now, I'm just gonna hide it. So yeah, after it's hidden, you know what? Before I get started, I'm just gonna go ahead and save. Take my word for it. And finally, the moment you've all been waiting for. I'm sorry that it took so long. I'm just gonna go ahead and start grabbing these. Oops. And then you would go over and just. Actually, you know what? I can just change the size of these because they should all be the same, roughly the same size. So let me take this and roughly make it how big it should be. So about that. That still looks good. And oops. Oh my gosh. And then each one I'm gonna go ahead and one by one. Actually, you know what will be easier? Because I know most of these are thick, I'm gonna actually move most of these over to this one. And so 80% of my work is done because most of these are that hair card. Or you know what? I think I need to. Oh no, I don't. No, I don't. If you see something like this, where the hair looks light on one side and then black on the other side, you don't need to change anything. Well, you do, but all you need to do, you don't need to do anything drastic. All you need to do is come up here, and then you click two-sided lighting, um, and that fixes the problem. Okay. And the next thing that I can do before I get started um, is I'm gonna go over to mesh display, and I'm gonna go ahead and soften the edge. Okay. And that doesn't necessarily smooth it out per se. Like as you can see, there's still some jagged edges. I'm gonna worry about that in in Marmoset. But what soften edge does is there are some edges that are like not good looking, so it fixes those mostly. So um, and here's what I'm worried about: stuff like this. As you can see, um, back here, you can see through the mesh. You can see it. You can see through it as well here, but I'm not too worried about that. And then up here, there's some issues here, but you don't have to worry about that. This is what Maya is all about, And you could do this in Blender too, but this is what this section is all about. Um, in order to fix these issues, let me double check something. Depending on what you want to do, this might actually not be so bad. Realistically, some people's hair, not this to this degree, because that's like balding, but to some degree, you might want a little bit of separation in certain parts. Not here, obviously. That's just me being lazy if I leave that. But up here, you you don't. If it's not too bad, like right here, for example, and it's not like this part, for example, it's not so bad. But I'm gonna fix it. How you do that is you go up here to UV shell, um, and then you basically just change the size of it, and that usually fixes it. So I believe if I make it shorter and bring this down to like here, that may have done it. Yeah, that usually takes care of it, kind of. There is also some issues with the width. Do I want it to be that much? No, I don't. That looks unrealistic. So. That looks kind of bad. Yeah, I'm gonna delete this scalp. The scalp is useful because obviously you need it in for behemoths, but as far as the texture is concerned, I don't really want to deal with the way it looks. I don't want to deal with that. So. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to start focusing on the parts of the hair where it's going to be not as dense. So this one, for example, I don't want it to be here. I'm going to move it, let's say, over here. I gotta be careful with going all willy-nilly with these because again, they're to protect the head. I do not want people to look at the character's head. Okay, I do not. So this is fine. As well, honestly, if I do this again, I'm gonna show you guys how to grab all of these cards, excuse me, cards within behemoths, and then like push them together, kind of like towards a single point. That would have looked better in my opinion, but you know it is what it is. Again, this isn't like supposed to be spectacular, so what else? Let me think. Okay, so you can decide how much you want to play around with this. It's up to you. There's no wrong answer. Well, there are wrong answers, but I have faith that you guys would not get the wrong answer as much as I would. Okay, so yeah, go ahead and experiment with this sort of thing and have fun with it. But now that I have shown you guys, and looking at this, I don't readily see, I should say, clipping. So I'm not gonna edit it just yet. If I see clipping in Marmoset, I will. But thankfully, I don't see too much clipping readily. So I'm just gonna leave it as is. I'm gonna take this over into Marmoset. So yeah. Okay, now that I'm in Marmoset Toolbag, there's a few things that I want to do before I do the hair. As you can see, I made the character black because I want the hair to stand out against them. I don't want the character to be the center focus, obviously. So that's the reason for this black outline or black color. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to go to camera and I'm going to set a few things. First off, I'm going to set the millimeter to 60, and then I'm going to set the field view to 22.62, which is already okay. Never mind. I'm gonna leave it as that. Then it's already there. And then the second thing I want to do is I'm going to change the tone mapping from this to Haji. All right. That's the second thing. And the reason why I want to do those things is because I watched the video and I thought it looked nice. The person explained it, so I want to do those two things first, and then the next thing I want to do is I want to go to the sky section and I want to darken the background a bit, just a bit. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to create some lights. I want to create a light coming up. Nothing crazy, just enough to create like a outline. And then I want to create another light coming downward like this. And then lastly, I want to create a light coming from. So once I have those three things, that's those three lights I should say. Now I'm gonna go ahead and import the hair, and I may change these lights depending on how much the hair is shown. Like if the hair is too dark, I may make the white light brighter. But let me go ahead and import the hair. And as you can see, immediately the hair looks very, very, very weird. The first thing, actually, what should we name this? Okay. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click the hair, and I'm gonna come over here, and I'm gonna click off cold back faces. So that immediately makes the hair cards look like cards again. So that's cool. And then the next thing I want to do is I'm thinking that I want to subdivide this. So let's immediately subdivide it. And one subdivide may be good enough. I want to keep this very, very very loose. I'm not gonna try to. The last thing I want to do is make this seem like you need a bunch of memory and megabytes to create something like this. That's the opposite of what I want you to take from this. So I might just leave it one, maybe two. How big is that? Does it say? Yes, it's up here. It's about 3. I'll leave it at that for now. Maybe later I'll subdivide it for it to 2. I'm not sure, but for now I'll just leave it like that. And the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna come up here to render, and I believe it's here. It should be up here. Where is it? Yeah, I'm gonna go up to render, ambient occlusion, and then click ray traced. And as you can see, that creates some shadows, some darkness. It's gonna do more than that soon, but for now it just creates the illusion of a lot of depth. You feel me? So the next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start going into the hair, and unless I'm missing something, let me check something real quick and I'll be right back, chat. Okay, so no, I should be good to go to start working on this. So first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go in order. I don't believe I have a displacement map to you, so first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put in my height map. I'm gonna navigate into my textures folder. Okay, so yeah, you guys still can't see it. I'm gonna take a bit of time to figure out how to show you guys the windows. I don't want you guys to guess at this part. With Maya, I'm gonna most likely include screenshots, so that's not gonna be difficult. But for this, I do want to show you guys the windows. So let me go ahead in OBS and figure out how to show you guys the windows. Bear with me, chat. Okay, so I have figured it out. Let's go ahead and just press forward. So the first thing I want to do is go into the my folder, go into the textures section, which for me is in source images texture, and then I want to include the normal, right? So as you can see, it put in some of these normal textures. And then the next thing I want to do is go into albedo and just put on the albedo map. Okay? It looks like that. The next thing I'm going to do actually is go back into the normal. I'm actually going to switch it from normal to detailed normal, and I'm going to add in the fiber ID. Now you get on this from what is it, Fibershop. I'm pretty sure you can make it in other programs like maybe. Well, I'm not sure about Blender. Maybe with the add-on, but you should be able to with other programs as well. So I'm just gonna add that, and it looks like this. Which, depending on if it looks good or not, I might remove that later on. But for now, I'm just gonna leave it. The next thing I'm gonna do is go into here, which is transmission, and I'm gonna choose thin surface. You can choose whatever one you want, but I personally use this one. Some people use, for example, subsurface scattering, but I use thin surface. And then you want to change the scatter and mask and put it pretty low. I like around 1.6. I'm sorry, 0.16, and do that for both. The next thing I'm gonna do is come down into transparency, and I'm gonna choose the dither. As far as whether cutout works, I'm pretty sure it does, but I don't really use it. I use dither instead, and then I'm just gonna navigate over to the alpha map. Actually, I'm gonna use the PNG version and just apply that, and then you want to come over here to A, and you want to go ahead and choose like G, and that goes ahead and removes the black. So that's how that works. That's how it looks so far. The next thing I'm going to go to is the occlusion and switch that on. And then for the occlusion map, I'm just going to go put fiber depth. And in the other map underneath, I'm going to choose root cavity. And not root cavity, sorry. I meant fiber root, which is right here. And I might tone this down because it's a bit much for this particular version of hair. You know, it makes it look like she has blonde as, you know, a secondary hair, but let me just tone that down a bit. So I'm gonna just leave it like that for now. And let's go back up here under microsurface. I'm gonna actually choose a direction map. Maybe. Let me see something real quick. Okay, so yeah, that is not okay. So I might actually leave this bottom light off. It's making it look kind of strange. So I'll leave that off for now. I might turn it on back on later. So here under reflector, so here under reflectivity, actually let me change this from metalness to specular. And actually, let me actually do reflection first. What you want is reflection. You want it anisotropic because it is hair. Hair is anisotropic. And then you want to just, if you have a direction map, you can just choose that, and it makes it so much easier. And the reflection goes where it's supposed to go, and it takes all the guesswork out. Okay. The next thing I want to do is come down to reflectivity. Now, this one's tricky because you're supposed to put the direction. Oh no, you're not. Never mind. Where are you supposed to put here? I think you're supposed to put the specular map. Yeah, you're supposed to put the specular map here, and industry heads will be like, "Oh, that looks great," and yeah, I guess it does look fine, and it's supposed to look like this. It's supposed to look not robust and not too crazy. Okay. But I prefer, and you're not supposed to do this, but I prefer to put the albedo map into the reflectivity map. And the reason why I do that is because it gives it a nice color. It's a color that I like. And I don't leave it at max. What I usually do is I bring this down to like 0.3, the intensity. And then the Fresno, I bring that down to like 0.1. So, yeah, I prefer the reflectivity as with the albedo map. So, you can use the specular map if you would like. There's nothing wrong with that. And in fact, you're probably supposed to, but I just prefer the albedo map on top of it. And so this is about where I would stop. There's more that I could add to this. Like I could add charcoal reflectivity, charcoal microsurface, emission map. Um, Emission map is cool because if you add it, it makes the hair kind of shine a bit. And if you do it subtly, it could make it look nice. But I don't want that for this particular groom. Um, as you can see, if you go real close with the um, settings that I chose, it really it doesn't look one to one like hair per se, but for hair cards and for something so lightweight, like these are just a few megabytes, guys. For something that lightweight, I don't know. To me, it just looks great. And that might just be me, but for me, man, you know, I could stare at this all day. I could. I'm sure many of you are not that geeky when it comes to hair cards, but I could literally look at this all day and just be like, wow. And not because of me, not feeling myself, but just because of hair cards them in it of themselves. I can't hardly say that phrase, but in it of themselves, I like hair cards a lot. So I could stare at a properly made hair card all day. whether that's mine or someone who's professional or even someone who's not. It doesn't matter. I really like them. I like them a lot. So I'm very happy that I was able to show you guys this process. And, you know, I hope you guys learned something new. So if you guys have any questions or concerns, do feel free to leave it in the comment section. Do not be afraid. Um, if you guys feel like there's something that you want me to expand on, please leave that, like I said earlier, make that as detailed as possible, and I will try to either comment on it or I will make a new video going into detail about it. So, um, if that's all right with you, I would love it if you did that. And at this point, I think I am done. So, if you guys learned something, if you guys like this video series, leave a like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And again, if you have any questions, concerns, leave a comment. So with that being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. God bless you, all of you. And thank you. Thank you for watching. Peace.